everyone, and welcome to Brown Box. This is an offshoot of Dylan Box. If you notice, there's nothing written on the box, hence Brown Box.
Good title.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Ryan, and
I'm Chris.
And the gist of this show is we're each going to kind of turn each other on to some music that we in our own personal collections that the other person either may not be so familiar with or may not be so hip to. So that's just really quick, kind of just what we're looking at.
Okay.
You want to go first, or?
No, it's have you go first.
All right, so let me pick out my pick here. So we have, okay, one of my other favorite Bobs. This is a record by Mr. Bob Pollard and his band, Guided by Voices. This album is Alien Lanes, and it's actually, this is the 25th year.
Oh.
Bob Pollard is a former elementary school teacher who was, weekends, he was a rock and roll guy. He's recorded thousands of songs and never really thought of becoming a full-time musician until around the time of this record, a little before this record.
Oh, okay.
And then that's when, and he's been playing music ever since with either like this band or 20 other bands that he does. Okay. So with different people. I discovered this maybe about 20 years ago. I love it because it reminds me of side 2 of Abbey Road, where all the songs just kind of flow together. It's just one after the other. It's about 27 songs, and I think in about maybe in about a little less than 40 minutes. So I mean, you're getting like a lot of snippets and kind of like ideas.
Resonance territory there.
A little bit, yeah. But I mean, lo-fi. But the great thing to sell you on is the melody. Is this like the way this guy just writes these melodies? It sounds like, I think he said it like Beatles demos. I mean, so it's a very like 60s sounding record, and that's what I love about this and a lot of his other albums. It's just it's amazing.
I didn't know his history. I know about Guided by Voices, but I didn't know that he was no more a teacher. There's a lot of good rock and roll teachers.
Absolutely.
But and that he sort of just built his song momentum into this as a gig.
It was a guy, and everyone was telling him, like, you're wasting your time with this band thing, and because he was spending money, he was taking out loans from the school credit union to press records, and then they weren't selling. So it was just like, there's a record a couple before this one. It was like the last one, and his manager, on the slide sent it to all these people, and they started calling him up, and then so it just became. It was the right time. Kind of mid '90s is when they kind of got noticed, and then a lot of other bands kind of gravitated towards it.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I love it. It's an amazing record.
So you had heard the earlier albums, or you started with this?
I heard the earlier ones. The first one I heard was Isolation Drills, which was a 2000 release, which was incredibly polished. And the album before that one was produced by Rick Ocasek, and that one, as you can imagine, was incredibly polished. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this sounds good to me. Let's go check out some of their other stuff. So I went back to a record before this, some of their EPs, and eventually got to this, and I'm like, is this the same band? Like, it's because it was completely like this the not only the fidelity of it, but like you're hearing like snatches of songs, you're hearing like just different ideas and different styles. But it's all him. It's all it's all like familiar.
Yeah.
This one, I don't know why. I keep going back to it because it's like, if you're gonna turn someone on to this band, it's not maybe the best record, but if you're a fan of 60s music, if you like the Beatles, if you like stuff like the Kinks, then this record is for you.
There you go.
Definitely.
Guided by Voices. That's a very good Brown Box recommendation.
Thank you.
I like that.
Absolutely. What do you got for us in the Brown Box?
Okay.
Let's see what you.
In the Brown Box, I have Dylan of the Dead. No.
Oh, hey! What a classic.
I have one of the greatest albums of all time.
Okay.
Fleetwood Mac's Then Play On.
Okay.
Even from I think I bought this at, I don't know, it wasn't Sears, it would have been Macy's or JCPenney's, or it was sort of a nice place, maybe Harris's or something.
Okay.
It was very nice. And I remember it was in this upstairs where they didn't have a ton of albums, but I remember just, even the shelves were nice. There were kind of wooden shelves, and this was on display. And I go, wow, this is just This
like
is
a painting.
beautiful album cover. And then I flipped it over and go, oh, it's Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
I know a little bit back then. I knew a little bit about Fleetwood Mac. I knew that they were a blues band. I knew very much a blues band, and they had played in Chicago. And I knew a little bit about Peter Green, but probably, this might be the first Fleetwood Mac album that I owned.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the music that's inside sounds like this cover. He's on this horse, and it's just very trippy, and it's a blues music, but it's a modern sound,
Pastoral kind of maybe.
pastoral feel, and on the inside.
So a lot of acoustics, perhaps, or
acoustic songs because of Danny Kerwin.
right.
So here's Mick Fleetwood,
Uh-huh.
and here's John McPhee.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Spencer, who was short-lived in the band when they came and were going to be touring, to be playing at the Swing Auditorium in San Bernardino, he joined some Jesus cult in Los Angeles and quit the band.
Mm-hmm.
And then Peter Green had to bring
Children of God.
Yeah, he went off with the Children of God and had to reach back to get Peter Green to see if he would come and play that show in San Bernardino. But what is so great about this is that you have these kind of pastoral, acoustic, highly melodic songs like Danny Kerwin, but you get the king of, kind of secret king of English blues. There's a lot of more famous folks, but Peter Green was a great songwriter and had just wonderful singer, and had this guitar, a menacing guitar tone, this pure blues.
Meaty.
Yeah, so this album becomes famous because of the hit single "Oh Well."
Oh.
So
okay.
most people wouldn't even know this on the album. What's nice, because I think "Oh Well" was a single, and this came out a little bit later.
But I like how they put the track listing inside,
Mhm.
and then they put the name of the band on the back.
Yeah.
And that's kind of. I think it's kind of cool.
Well, it's just different because you say you're just getting this experience
yeah.
of this band.
Because you
And-
kind of come to it in layers. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, and then okay.
Yeah, and so, with the Shakespeare quote, "And music is the the love, and then play on."
Mm.
So, not only is "Oh Well" on it, which is one of those fabulous
Yeah.
singles there's ever been.
Right.
But, there's when it came on the radio the first time, everyone that I knew, whoever lusted after playing a guitar, that's one of the first triggers for them to go, oh, it's got these tones and this incredible riff, and he sings this a cappella thing, and it's quirky.
Right.
And then the full version, he has a whole second, acoustic, classical, long form, which goes to, it's a little bit like Hang 'em High,
I'm trying to help you out here.
Sergio
Leone. Yes.
Yeah, so it has all Sergio.
That's another podcast.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go. But so it has that thing. But in here, there's these songs that are just kind of blues jams, and then some very simple but clever, very pop-oriented blues music. But all of it's filtered through this guy because he's this great writer. He's written The Green Manalishi already. He's written Black Magic Woman. He has Oh Well, and he's just kind of throwing all these elements together. I know Victor from Camper talked about this album. He mentioned it on his Facebook page, and he called it like Baroque.
Because they're pulling different world influences too, right?
It's like the Beatles were bluesy, or this with it. So there's a elegance to it. It's very wide ranging, and there's these very delicate songs, and some really great blues jams. And there's not a wasted minute, and yet there's some very, kind of expansive instrumentals. Back when instrumental, that's another great thing about Peter Green.
Yeah.
Is he loved to put together just these elements, and it didn't have to be lyrics. It just had to be this beautiful sound.
Sure.
And
but not proggy, right? That wasn't like a Yes album, right?
Not even
Okay.
close. He's a blues guy, and he was informed a little deeper.
Sure.
And it's in probably his belief of what blues music could be, how it could grow, and mature and be a populist blues music and still have its integrity. All those things are on this album. So if you love blues music, if you love anything to do with British invasion of British blues, if you want to see one of the greatest blues guitarists there was, plus blues writer, in a band that totally understands what he's about and equally contribute. Kerwin and
three guitar band.
Yeah. Jeremy Spencer was more. He ended up being more like almost like a '50s kind of a thing. He wrote some kind of like '50s pops things and was a cool singer unto himself. Danny Kerwin is also a good singer, but
I think he was wearing like a suit, and then he has like some Roman sandals on.
It is. Well, they were Roman times.
So okay, I mean, that's like the blazer with the white. Okay, like try that today and see.
I'm gonna try. I'm doing it right now.
See, if we were working, you see how quick you could send home from work.
One other thing about just the album era, from anyone who grew up in that time, you would just worship. You would worship this folder, and and you would look at the pictures, and you would get absorbed because you'd be listening to the album, but this was your visual. And so I just love this picture. They're just, saying I guess some rubble, but it's one of my favorite rock pictures.
Yeah.
Because he just seems so happy. And
Yeah.
if you know what happens to Peter Green later on is he has a lot of mental health issues and never gets the chance to fulfill this true promise that he was.
And the band becomes something completely
They
different.
move on to other things,
and not everyone is aware of this side.
no
of
one
it.
knows about this
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, some people do.
Yeah.
But if you really wanted to hear, to me, the greatest Fleetwood Mac album is them Play On, because this has all their blues roots, but it has some of that pop mystery that was going to happen, and I don't know that any other blues band that was able to move in so many directions in a way. I mean, you could look at you could talk about folks like Led Zeppelin or something
okay.
that would say, okay, it's a blues-based thing and whatnot, and maybe there's a springboard from this music in a way to open up, because Led Zeppelin would have not been fun if they hadn't started playing acoustic,
Right.
started,
Bringing Indian influences and stuff
gallows
from Morocco
pole,
and
all these things that say,
Yeah.
the more interesting music isn't just a slave to the blues, but what can you do with it that's deeper, that's more challenging, and I lived and breathed this album. It's someone that was never going to be a great good blues guitar player, but any blues riff that I know comes from this album.
Yeah.
Because it just became a part of my persona.
It's like the blues Bible for you.
It became the blues Bible, and it just
love it,
anyone who has it, it's one of their favorite records, just bar none. So that is Fleetwood Mac.
And then Play On.
Play On from 1972, 69, whatever day
Yeah.
it was.
Guided by Voices, Alien Lanes, 1995. 2 albums you should check out. This is an edition of Brown Box. We'll be back another time soon with 2 more albums that you've probably never heard of, but you should listen to.
Absolutely.
I'm Ryan Harsch.
I'm Chris LeRoy.
Thanks for joining us.